Hey guys, it's me, Jan, CEO of Acquire.Fi. We have lovely Andrew from Magnus Capital here again. A weekly review, what's happening in the market, going through a little bit also from Andrew's side, some interesting statistics. I think it's very good always to go through these different graphs and get Andrew's comment because he's a professional trader. But yeah, Andrew, what do you see in the market?
Hey man, thanks for having me on again. Right now, it looks like market's rallying pretty hard. It's nice to see finally we're getting some uptrend rallies. The first week of July was pretty rough. It seemed like it was a bit slow, at least for crypto. If you look at like equities, it's just been like straight up. And when we look at our seasonality study, we were all saying that July was supposed to be our bullish month. So I think we're starting to see that play out. So right now we have the seasonality chart. This is something that I look at every week, something I update. And then also the technology sector. This is where really we're kind of betting on mostly. I think the rest of July should be a pretty bullish kind of event for us. And we can go right into the charts here. A couple of weeks ago, we had this massive failure of this low here, which was pretty alarming. I personally thought we might be going a bit lower. I generally look at the 38.2s as like our first stop, our major supports. So, Bitcoin came pretty close to it, and it looks like we kind of like W'd out, which is always a very good sign to see. We had a bullish divergence, as well as we had oversold conditions. So usually when you have all that together, you usually get a bit of like a bullish trend rally. And so I think that's what we're seeing now. I thought maybe the 38.2s on the upside would be our first level of resistance, but it looks like we just blasted right through today. So that's always a very good sign. It seemed like the market really rallied pretty hard based on like Trump being shot.
Which is pretty crazy. I bet. We were just talking that we live in a simulation for sure. But yeah, a lot of people in the hedge fund and VC industry are betting now that Trump will be the next president. If you go to Polymarkets, which is basically a betting platform for different outcomes in real world life, they're really betting now that President Trump is going to be the next president. And obviously, if that happens, he's very pro crypto, and people are now betting like, hey, it's going to really go hard. And he's actually coming to a Bitcoin conference, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah, isn't he like talking in a couple of weeks or like next week or something?
Interesting to see what will happen.
Yeah, like that's gonna be wild, like especially after like coming back from being shot at and just like mega alpha. So the market's obviously reacting very positively. Like all the risk assets are like pumping. If we look at Ethereum, same story.
Dude, he's finally getting some fucking. Sorry about my language. It is finally making some progress. Like it's been underperforming so badly. Like,
Well, you got the ETH ETF stuff coming out. I think this week. It's supposed to be today or something. I think. So we'll gotta keep our ears to that. Price we sold off a couple of weeks ago. We tagged the 38.2, which I always consider the first stop of resistance or support. So we held. We had this little bit of a weird wonky W that planned out. We got the bullish divergence. You had the oversold conditions, and now off we go. So I always think 38.2s are kind of your first stops. So right now we did break just slightly above it. If Bitcoin keeps pumping, then I'm sure Ethereum will keep moving as well. And right now, there's really not much you can do. I wouldn't want to chase these. I wouldn't want to short these quite yet either. There's no real like setups. I think the setup came in like last week. So now that the market is moving, and if we do continue to break above, I think our next real like level of resistance will be up against the 61.8 and 17.6. This is typically what we call the short reload zone. This is just based off the top of this level here to the bottom of here. So we're just measuring this range. So same idea on Bitcoin too, really. Like I think like, our next level of like resistance, major resistance will be up here, 61.8, 17.6. These are up against these old highs as well. So that's kind of where I'm targeting for my next like levels of like, okay, hey, maybe we should like cool off. But momentum wise, it is looking pretty bullish. There's no signs of like anything bearish quite yet. So positive news. When I go over to the, where am I? Dixie. This has been a really nice sight to see. You know, we had this short reload zone up here. Market broke down pretty hard, and it's just been continuing down further. Market's kind of paused here now at the 38.2 level. It's trying to see what it wants to do. Ideally, we want to see it to keep breaking down, confirm this massive M, and then hopefully we can get it a bit lower down to like 102, 101. And then that will keep continuing to pump the equities and risk assets, which would be nice to see. When I float over to the equities, as you can see, we just been just face ripping up. You know, like we said, July is supposed to be an extremely bullish month, and it hasn't stopped. It just kept going. It's really interesting to see the Russell 2000 actually breaking out finally to new highs. That means that a lot of small caps are probably going to be rallying or already are rallying. And also with the Dow also breaking to new highs finally as well, we are starting to see some recovery in the market here. So clearly the risk assets are very bullish right now.
Yeah, which is very strange. I want to quickly go and look at the liquidation heat map for BTC.
Sure. Do you want to pull it up?
Yeah, I'm gonna pull it here. 1 sec. There we go. So you were actually quite correctly, like 65,000 levels. There's a lot of liquidity mapped out, and then obviously there's a lot of liquidity on 67,000 levels. I think if you go back to your graph, you were showing the same thing, but I think overall the liquidation heat map is very good indicator of like where is the liquidation or liquidity mapped out and what's the breakout levels. But to be honest, I was very surprised that we just went through the 60,000 levels like without any problems. Like hold this thing. I thought actually we were going to go to 50,000 to 48,000, but here we are. And also, if you go back to the fear and greed level, we're getting back up. So,
yeah, that's good to see. Yeah, I definitely thought we were going to hit a lot lower, especially because, like, you know, when you look at a weekly chart of Bitcoin and Ethereum, you know, you have these like massive like weekly M's. You know, weekly M's are typically very bearish signals. So, you know, this bounce back might just, you know, it's not a real bull market until we start shaping out W's. Realistically, in my opinion. So this could just be like a dead cat bounce back up to the top of range, and then we just start, you know, either resisting, creating another consolidation. So it's hard for me to say we're fully in a bull market, but, you know, we are seeing a lot of nice bounces off of these lows. And so, yeah, like, you know, ideally I thought maybe we'd come a bit closer to the 51K here, but price just flew right back. So,
and then, if we go, I'm going to show quickly here, Bitcoin monthly returns. So as we talked before, like your technology graph and so forth, like it seems to be that August and September are going to be usually very negative. Now, from my side, I thought actually I've been betting that August is going to be very bullish because there's a lot of bullish events happening, but seems to be August, September are going to be very red, especially September when the taxes are coming out, or you have to pay taxes finally.
Yeah.
What do you see? What do you see here?
Yeah, I mean, generally, you know, September is considered a pretty bearish month, just because that's when summer break just ends, all the professionals come back to work, and then you kind of start the tax sell-off season. So generally, September is kind of like when you start seeing a lot of the markets start clipping profits or start selling off. And then August, you know, August is a bit random. Sometimes you get a bullish month, sometimes you don't. For us, I think crypto, it's been lagging pretty hard, so we might get a little bit of a rally into August, but, you know, closer coming into September, I wouldn't be surprised if the market does pause. Generally,
do you think we will see all-time high for that?
I don't think so.
No.
I would love to, but realistically, I don't think so. But, you know, famous last words, maybe.
Yeah, I'm so wrong with 48 and 44,000, but who knows? Maybe we dump still. But on another note, just showing quickly here. ETFs, we are very pumping. There's been a lot of flows lately, and lately a lot of positive flows, like $310 million were pumped on Friday into ETFs, which is kind of big sum. And it's been overall like ETFs have been buying the dip very hardly. And
Nice.
if we go here, we can see that, hey, there's a lot of volume coming up. And I think now, like you said before, that we are going for a reversal, like for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's go to your altcoins, man. Like I want to see some alts. What you been following?
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah, and then touching base on that, like that note, it's like it's also like the Germans are done selling. They finished selling like over the weekend, so that was really positive news. So we don't have as much like selling pressure. So the market was definitely happy to hear that. Arrow. So this is an altcoin that I got a pretty big win in the first time. We bought way down here, kind of close to like 3 cents. Was able to hit out a pretty X there. So in my opinion, I wanted to hit this trade again. So following the same setup that I personally really like is you look for double bottoms. You look for reload zones, which is between the 61.8 and 78.6. You look for bullish divergence, and you look for oversold conditions. So with all that together, especially if you follow the market reports that I post out, I've been saying, 78.6 is kind of where I'm looking for a bounce. We did get the initial bounce, which I missed that level. But ideally, I always want to try to hit a structure of like a double bottom. So the double bottom finally came in here. And then off we go. So this is one position that I did post in our groups that I'm pretty happy about. Another one would be OP. This one I was pretty happy with so far. The same idea. This one was actually a bit lower than the 17.6. This is actually at an 88.6, which is what we call the sniper level. This is like really like bottom discount, like the best level you can kind of get in the sense if the market holds and doesn't break the new lows. So for me, when I saw that, it hit it. I started seeing the bullish divergence come in. I saw the oversold conditions. And so I was like, hey, there's a W here. I'm going to hit the W, and then off we go. Same concept back here. I bought the W here. We got a massive win the first time around. I still hold a bit of this. So I'm just kind of reloading on positions that were already successful. And then considering also with the ETH ETFs, I'm sure these names should do pretty well.
What's the coin that you're looking for at the moment the most?
I wouldn't say there's a specific one. Yeah, there's quite a few. There's quite a few names. Tia is another one that I really liked. We had this little tiny W here. We had a pretty big bullish divergence. We had oversold conditions as well. And then also 17.6 is like kind of one of my favorite levels to like hit, especially if you can get a double bottom right on it. So, initially we had the breakout. Now we're getting the retest. Hopefully it holds, and hopefully we can kind of carve out another W, and off we go. Ideally, we want to see the market kind of break to the other side of this trend line. So we'll see how that one plays out.
Just on Tia, because I've been doing a lot of OTC, and Celestia was doing a lot of OTC among VCs. There's a lot of unlocks that's going to happen now. I think that's going to affect the price. I do not know, but at least from my side, I would be careful on that one. Just on my OTC flows that I see. But obviously, as a trade, it might be good. But yeah,
you might get a little bit of swing here and there. I'm not married to the idea. Also, like risk management is very important, guys. Like, don't blow your whole ticket on one name. Generally, with us, we like to follow a rule like never putting more than 5% of your portfolio in one trade. This will help you manage your risk and keep you a bit more diversified, I find. It's a bit slower, but at least on the downside risk, you don't get blown up. So that's just one note that I hope people keep in mind. Uniswap is another one that I really liked. We had this first position on, did really well. And so now we kind of came back into levels. We're in the long reload zone. We have a double bottom here. This is actually like a Wyckoff check on this breakout as well. And then you have the bullish divs, you have the oversold conditions. So I think setup-wise, there is a play here. So this is another one that I picked up and am playing right now. Another one I think is RLC. This one I also really liked. Sorry for my trend lines, just playing around there. So this was a position that we did really well the first time around. Same idea. You come in during these like 17.6 levels, reload zone. You get the W's, you get the bullish divergence, you get the oversold conditions, and then off we go, right? So now, same idea, doing it from the bottom of this range to the top of this, and we're back into that long reload zone. I also have a double bottom right on the 17.6, which is, like I said, what I love to see. And then we got the bullish divergence, we got the oversold conditions, and off we go.
What about some memes? Pepe, for example.
I was looking at Bonk and Sheep, so I actually bought two of the. I guess they're more like the blue chips.
Definitely blue chips, yeah.
Yeah, so I actually really like Bonk. We bought the Bonk here. Like this one, I stepped in on the 88.6 level, the sniper level I was talking about earlier, and we got a pretty big win off of it. And then now we're kind of cooling off, and I was like, okay, well, I want to come back in. I'm going to measure this range from bottom here and here. We came into the reload zone. I didn't pick up anything at the 78.6 because there wasn't really a proper W. But now back here, I like it where it is right now, just mainly also because we have the bullish divergence, we have the oversold conditions. This is kind of a wonky W kind of trying to form out here. Ideally, I want to see the price break above here. So I did front run it a little bit earlier, but I like buying in the reload zone. So hopefully this does play out. If not, then I don't mind just getting stopped out if I need to. But yeah, Bonk is one. Another one that I really like was Sheeb. Let me see if I can find it. Here we are. Sheeb is another one that I really like. This one actually has a W, as well as within the reload zone. We got the bullish divergence. We have the oversold conditions. And so that's pretty much my setup, right? Location, reload zone, momentum, looking for divergence and oversold conditions, and then structure, double bottoms. So these are my two meme plays that I'm looking at right now. And then, actually, I was looking at Popcat. I was showing you earlier in the call. Yeah. So, this is one of those trades where I was like, look, you got the reload zone, you got the bullish divergence here. We didn't have the oversold conditions, but other than that, the setup did roll in, and off we go. And so I was like, okay, well, if anybody wants to kind of re-tag this line, maybe on the retest you can try to come back in. Market did come back low, kind of came close to the level, and then off we go. I actually missed this trade, so I don't really want to play it, but that looks pretty bullish to me. It's pretty pumped. I wouldn't chase it here. Like, don't chase these markets because they can kind of face rip back down pretty fast. So
yeah, it's not like you will get enough opportunities. There's 2,000 coins.
Yeah, there's so many
setups, and again, like risk management. Don't risk too much.
Yes, very critical to understand that. So here's this is the Pepe you're talking about. Yeah, I mean, ideally I want to be in the reload zones, right? It's still a little bit out of the range, but you do see the double bottoms coming in now. You do see this massive bullish divergence potentially coming in. Didn't hit oversold conditions either, but W's are W's at the end of the day. This might break out. It might just come back up and try to test like the top of range here. Let me flip this around. Oh shoot, sorry. There we go. So I wouldn't be surprised if we break out here. Say you did take the W. Risk to these lows. Generally, when you do these longs, you want to go for a 2-to-1 risk-reward ratio. That's actually kind of a decent trade because, like, if you look at it, it's coming back to 50% of this range, which isn't out of the question. So that's something that I could see happening.
But it's still in a bearish trend line, no? A little bit. It's a little bit on the bearish trend line still.
Yeah, I mean, it depends where you look at the trend line. Like if I did a trend line here, we're on the other side of that trend line now. And generally, when you see a market structure on the other side of the trend line, that's generally a pretty strong signal. But then say if you did it from this high to this low, then you're still a little bit under the trend line, right? So it depends what range you're kind of looking at, I guess. But yeah, ideally, this is kind of like the trade that I would look for. And then obviously, like, short reload zone up here, that's kind of where I would think there'd be major resistance, where the previous top was as well. So that's kind of how I see for Pepe. I personally don't have any of it. I don't really have any interest in it right now until it's like in my actual reload zone.
Got it.
Yeah. Another one I kind of liked was Jupiter. I thought Jupiter was lining up pretty well here. I did have a position here originally. I did get washed out, but I didn't sell because I was like, well, my stop loss would have been right on 78.6, so I wanted to see what this level did. Thankfully, I didn't sell completely. And I went back in and reloaded into my position here, mainly because, again, we got the reload zone, you got the W's, you got the bullish divergence, you got the oversold conditions. So I figured this might be decent. But, if it does break these lows again, I probably will just hop off. Another name was Sui. I really liked Sui coming in here. This one was kind of interesting. Like, I saw the divergence come in. We did hit oversold conditions. There wasn't really a double bottom here. I just bought the level. 17.6 is a little bit higher than where it initially was. But I just figured with the Germans selling off all their Bitcoins finally, the ETH ETFs coming off, and then just the general market sentiment was very fearful. It looked like the trade was kind of coming in. So I did front run the trade. It is playing in my favor now. And then another one that actually looks similar to this was Sui. Let me see if I can find that one as well. So this was another one. This one actually did have a little W. It was very small. But then you had the divergence. You had the oversold. You had a tag of the 88.6 down here. And then, yeah.
Got it. Yeah, I think overall, also something that we have to keep in mind is that FTX is starting to pay out in 1 month or so in August, if I remember right. And that liquidity is going to hit the market. So there's definitely good times to buy some of these because they're looking at the bottom, or we're looking at the bottom.
Yeah. Rose is another one that I thought looked pretty good here. You got the double bottoms. You got the reload zone. We cleaned up this tail that they left behind. Divergence, oversold. Actually, we didn't get oversold completely here, but just seeing like a little swing trade kind of idea. See what happens. But yeah, overall, looks pretty good in the alt market, in my opinion. A lot of names are lifting up and moving. Yeah,
I think it's good to end here. When are we gonna meet you again? Are you gonna come with me and Ken maybe today, this week?
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind coming back in again. Maybe in a time. We can do something like once a week kind of thing.
Got it. Yeah, thanks again, Andrew. And people, please like and share, please subscribe. This will help us with the algorithm, and obviously we will make more and more videos with different projects. But yeah, thank you guys.
Yeah, thanks for having me again.